Hi, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Canty, and this is another episode of Living Enlightened Every Day. Today, we're asking the question, what's your story, and are you sticking to it, even if it makes you miserable? So today we're exploring the question, what's your story? I mean, we all have a story, don't we? As soon as you meet someone in our culture, it's like, hi, my name is, and I do this, and I live here, and I drive this car, and I know these people, and I've been to these places. And when you get to know someone a little more, you hear some more stories. As a matter of fact, sometimes it's like how well you know someone is how well you know their story. You can say, oh, when he was 12, this happened and that's why he's like this today. And he's never gotten over that. And she's always done this. She's always been that way. And we all have a story to kind of back up um, who we think we are. This happened to me, that happened to me. This didn't happen when I really wanted it. I never understood why. We have these stories. And I would say all the time, 100% of the time, it's the story and the thoughts about the story. The story is why we can't feel and know ourselves as this divine being, as love itself, as a child of God. Right? It's the story we tell ourselves about who we are. And of course, many of our stories are others telling us who they think we are. And we've assimilated that. We can hear, the coach's voice, you're not good enough, or the parent or the grandparent, the step parent saying, stop, you're not supposed to do that. That's not right. You're not good. You're not a good person. You didn't make the good grades, you didn't do what you were supposed to do, all these things. And we assimilate them into this personality. And we have this history, the her story, hers and his, get it? So it's our story. And many times we carry that around like, a weight on our shoulders, like armor, like a cloak, like baggage, like boulders, right? Depending on our story and how much we're attached to them. And last week we talked about love and what are we willing to give up to be in love, to be loving, and to be loved from within all the time. And we talked about things you have to give up. And one of them is our story, the thoughts and the stories we tell about ourselves. Our stories are usually not even accurate, not to say they didn't happen, but scientists are now proving that the way we recall things is not necessarily the way the event happened. We know this, there's been studies done, and it makes sense, right? That what we would recall is, skewed by our point of view, by the way we see the world, by the way we've been taught to see the world. And the way we recall things almost always reinforces that story, those beliefs we hold about ourselves. And then what happens if we remember an event from this past that we've experienced, we can feel right in this moment now as if it's happening right now, because it is. We've recalled it in this moment. We are experiencing the pain, the loss, the betrayal, the the feeling of not being good enough, of lack, of limitation. We're feeling that now. And so every time we recall something from the past, it is a limitation. It's a way of not being present to our divine nature right here and right now. And the same is true for the future. The same is true for the daydreaming, the wishing, the wanting, the desiring. One day when I blah blah blah, and we think we experience, the joy of having, something in the future, but we're experiencing it now, but we're missing this moment now. And what is in this moment now? What is so special about this moment, about being present? As Eckhart Tolle would say, the power of now. It's because everything, and I do mean everything, is available to us now. It's not available as we are reliving a past event or projecting who we are, who we think we are, into the future. Our stories can keep us reliving the events and therefore having this energy, this energy around us, the law of attraction, the reciprocal universe, what we're thinking, what we're feeling, what we keep bringing forth in our story is moving itself into our future, right? We're recreating it over and over again. So the stories that we tell are in the way of who we actually are right now. So who are we without the story? Who are we as we take off, the layers of stories? I'm a mom. I'm this old. I'm in this body. I do these things. I drive this car. Right? As soon as we start taking them off, is that who I am? Is that who I am? Or is it something I do or something I experience? Not even all that often. Right? I don't experience it every single moment of every single day. It's not essential to my nature. It comes and goes. Me being a mom is getting more and more rare as my son turns into an adult. Me being at work it's not even every single minute that you're at work. It's when you're just working, but even then it's not. It's being. But we call it something. We want to define it. We want to put it into a little box and make it all nice and neat for our finite mind. But all of that keeps us from experiencing the divine being that we are. We are unlimited. We are unconditional love. We are unbounded joy. We are the peace that passes human understanding, all understanding. We are divine emanations of God itself. And as we take off and let go and drop the layers of the stories that we tell, who are we? That light, that essence, that presence is revealed in this moment now. So every time we meet someone, every time we interact, every time we think just to ourselves, it's not even with other people, because even as we are with ourself and our story, we are not being present to the moment now. This moment now is the most powerful moment because everything is available to us. Everything is right here, right now. It isn't in the story. It isn't in the event. It isn't even in resolving what we think is resolving a story. It's letting it go. And the reason I ask, what's your story first, is because when we know our stories, when we know what we say when we meet people, when we know what we say every time we see that friend from work, and every time we see that friend from high school, and every time we see that friend from the last state that we lived in, those are the stories we tell. What, who are we? What are the stories that we're telling over and over again, reinforcing that aspect of ourselves? When they fired me for no reason, when I couldn't get a job, when this happened, that happened. It's okay that we experienced what we experienced, but to relive the story rather than being present with what is right now, there's so much joy, so much peace, so much love to be had in this moment, to be shared, to be spoken about if it's in your nature to dialogue in that way with the friend from the past state, the coworker, the best friend down the street. Have the conversation, but be in love, be in joy, be in peace. So exploring our story reminds us, to be aware, just being aware. Like sometimes, oh, it's painful sometimes, but when you can just see yourself telling this story, talking about the same thing the way you've always spoken about it, as we learn to become aware and present, then we can just be like, that isn't who I am. That's not who I am. And sometimes I will do this mid-sentence. I'm sorry. I'm just not in this space to talk about that right now. But what I would really love to share with you is this or that or this or that. Or can we just take a walk in silence? Or can we just enjoy the sun setting? Whatever it is, change it up. But we don't need the story. That's not the truth of our being. Unless you're telling the story about the truth of your being, and then you're good. When we let go of the story, that light that we are shines through. So I ask the question, who are you without the story? And we peel off those layers, we let go of the stories, and this essence that has never been hurt, never been betrayed, never been in fear, never been in doubt. This, I'm going to say, simple essence. Life itself is just peeking out through this vessel called my body, and just in awe and wonder and love, the love I talked about last week, because there's no story saying you're not good enough, you don't deserve this, you didn't work hard enough, you didn't earn this, you didn't show up, you messed up, you weren't there for that person. There's no story. So what's there? Joy, love, peace, bliss. And don't get me wrong, the finite mind, actually the ego, which is that set of beliefs, that believes it is separate from everyone, from everything. It's separate from source, separate from each other, separate from life, and it's holding on because all it has is the story. All it has is history and her story. That's all it is those. And so when you start letting it go, it says, no, 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 this is going to hurt. This is going to be painful. You got to hold on. You got to keep it up. Keep up the story. Keep up the pretense. Keep up the, smile even though it hurts. Whatever those sayings are. That's like the biggest lie we've ever been told is big girls don't cry and push through and suck it up and I don't know, all the other sayings. It's like, no, let it go. Let it all go. Because who and what we are is a divine child of God, just waiting to shine through and shine forth and be. And of course, boom, right there, there's that thought. I can't just be. I have things to do, people to see, money to make, uh, children to feed, whatever it is. And it's like, that's going to happen no matter what. But spirit's going to do it, right? The story, the finite mind, the who we think we are, we can do it in love. We can do it in joy. We can do it in peace. We can do it without that, the the thinking, oh, what should I do now? I don't know. I'm so confused. Spirit's never confused. Spirit is never confused. Its spirit takes it all in. The finite mind can only take in so many pieces of information, so many bits of information, and it categorizes it into, you know, good, bad, right, wrong, needed, not needed. But spirit is right there, man. Spirit's got it. It is it. It's all of it. So we don't have to think. We're just one with, and we move one with. And it's what they mean by surrendering to God. I had a hard time with that phrase. Those of you who've heard my other talks, my Catholic upbringing, surrendering to this entity outside of myself, the man up in the sky who's going to judge me and maybe send me to hell or at least purgatory, and all those things. It's like, oh, I don't need, and then I didn't even know how when I wanted to. But it's the idea of surrendering that which no longer serves us. It's the finite, the thoughts, the belief in separation, the belief in lack, the belief that we're not good enough. If we're here, we're good enough. God created you. How can you not be anything other than the child of God itself? We are perfect right where we are, right as we are. And so letting go of that identity with the past and the future and just pulling it all into right now, it explodes into the allness, the fullness of life. And that limited sense of self dissipates and disappears. It is being completely present and aware. And as we kind of pay attention to the story and what we say over and over again, and how we introduce ourselves, how we are with certain members of our family, whatever that is, just listen to yourself. Just give yourself some space and just watch, become the observer. And it's like, wow, is that story serving me? Is that who I am? Or is that something that happened to me? Am I looking for validation, sympathy, empathy? Am I making excuses for my behavior? All those things, just watch, no judgment, just watching, I don't need to identify with that anymore. Because what happens when we make space, make room, is the truth of our being just, we stop standing on the hose. It flows. It flows out of us, flows through us, in us, out of us. That's a great feeling. Let's practice this week. Who am I without the story? And one of those Buddhist koans is, I think it's something like, what was your face before your parents were born? Something like, I don't know the real one. But, this idea of who are you without this identity, without your parents' identity, without your history, without that, who are you? And ultimately, that's what we're looking for, is this remembrance of who we actually are, revealing the truth. We're not attaining it, getting it, creating it. We are it. And the only thing blocking it, the truth of our being, the essence of our nature, love, joy, peace, is our thoughts or our story. So letting go the stories is huge. And I talk about it in my book, in Living Enlightened, the joy of integrating spirit, mind, and body. And once I was giving a talk on what's your story? And before the talk, a man came up to me and he said, "I'm new to town. I saw your workshop. I was you know, just it just called out to me. I had to come here." I said, "Oh, where are you from?" And we started that conversation. He's from the country, and he brought his daughter with him, and she's special needs, and we have some good special needs school, and that's why they moved. I said, "Are you enjoying it?" He's like, "No, it's been hard, it's been terrible. We don't know any other parents that are in this situation. We miss the countryside, we miss, our friends." And he was just going down this rabbit hole, and I could relate, of course. And he said a few more things, and I said, "Well, is there anything you do like about here? I don't know. What do you like about here? Anything so far?" And his face lit up, and he said, "Oh, the water. You have the beaches and the rivers and the tributaries and the creeks, and there was just water everywhere, and lakes and ponds." He goes, "My daughter loves it. We're at the beach. We're at the river. We saw a manatee on the dock the other day." His face lit up, and about his daughter really enjoying the way, there's so many aspects of water that we have, which I'm a water baby. I can relate. And so after the talk, after the workshop, and we did some exercises, which are in the book, by the way. There's some exercises at the end of every chapter. And he came up to me and he said, "Are you serious that you can just change your story?" So we're getting to that part. And I was like, "Well, yeah." I said, "Don't lie. I mean, we're not going to make up something, but we can just change the story. We don't have to identify with the one story. How we can tell a million stories, right?" And he goes, "Well, how do you do that?" And I said, "Well, you know how when you introduced yourself to me, and right off the bat it just went kind of negative, and what you didn't like and what wasn't working and how hard it was, and that you don't have any friends, and you haven't met anyone." I said, "You might want to try leading with, 'Hi, I'm so and so, and we're new here for my daughter, and we just love the oceans and the rivers. My daughter's really looking forward to these experiences. And when school starts, I've heard these are the best school system, for special needs kids in this area. Blah blah blah." It's like, start with that. I saw him 2 weeks later. He was beaming. His whole essence had changed. And he said, "I just changed the way I introduced myself. I just changed that little part of the story, and I met all these people. I have all these friends for my daughter to play with. I've met the teachers at our school." He said, "It's amazing." I said, I know. It's amazing when we lead with the light that we are. with the love that we are, with the joy that we are experiencing in this moment, it can't help but, bubble up all around us. It's attracting itself to us. And the opposite is true then too. If we're just talking about the same negative thing that's always happening, we're creating the same negative thing that's always happening. And again, we're not making something up. We're not telling untruths. We're focusing on something beautiful, something wonderful, something amazing, because we all have something wonderful in our life. We all have it. We all have life, breath, a heart beating. We all have something amazing to focus on. Let that be your lead story. Lead with that, lead with love, joy, and peace. Lead with something, the rainbow that you saw on the drive over, the the squirrels nesting in the tree right outside your second story window, and you saw the baby squirrels being born. Whatever, I don't know. Just whatever your thing is, lead with that. So there you go. We're just exploring our story. Who are you without your story? And we can change our story like that. We can let go of what we thought was so important to our identity and make room for the truth of our being to shine, to reveal itself. That's your true story. That's the one you can stick to. And it will move you into this place of seeing everyone in that same light, regardless of the story they are telling. That's a gift. You see love, joy, and beauty everywhere, even if someone is being miserable. You can be like, I can relate. I can relate. I am no longer telling that story. It was something that happened to me. It was something I experienced, but now there's wisdom. Now there is openness. Now there is healing. Now there is joy. Now there is love. That happened. And now, right now, there is this. So this week, ask yourself the question, what's the story you always tell? And are you sticking with it, even if it makes you miserable? What are the stories that make you go crazy? What are the stories that excite you? Tell those. The time if you got to go into the past, I get that too. Tell the one where you were lit up. Tell the one where you experienced something amazing. Tell the one where your heart was open wide and love just poured out of you. Tell that story. See what happens. Let me know. I'm Elizabeth Canty. You can learn more about me and this stuff on my website, elizabethcanty.com. I've written a book, Living Enlightened, The Joy of Integrating Spirit, Mind, and Body. And that's on Amazon. It's also in the show notes. And I just invite you to explore the website, explore the book, and explore these concepts so that you can love your life, live your passion, and live enlightened every day. If you like this, hit like, hit subscribe, share it with a friend. Maybe they're tired of telling their story. Maybe they're just tired of it. They're done. They want a new story. Just send this to them. And laugh, love, live enlightened every day.